Hello, thank you for joining us today. We will be discussing implementing effective organizational design in virtual work environments. First, some background. Companies began looking at alternative work environments as early as the 1960s as a new way to organize work. Since then, many forms of alternative work environments have emerged. Our topic is going to focus on the virtual work environment. A virtual work environment is a situation when an employee works outside of a traditional office environment using technology to maintain communication and complete tasks. Two successful examples include Microsystems, who saved $300 million in real estate costs by having half of their employees work remotely, and IBM, who found employees' productivity increased 15 to 40%. Why should we consider virtual work environments? There are two main factors while virtual work environments are coming into play. Advancements in technology are driving virtual work organizations and teams closer to the mainstream. In addition, global competitiveness is increasing, and many firms are being forced to consider new ways to work and innovate to attempt to maintain competitive advantage. The advantages of virtual work environments include allowing companies to have a presence in many regional areas without the expenses of bricks and mortars. And as seen in the examples before, companies can save on real estate costs, upkeep on buildings, water, electricity, and heating. In addition, we have employee performance can improve. Virtual teams allow individuals to combine knowledge and skills to solve problems, complete projects, innovate, and complete day-to-day work from anywhere around the world. It can also increase employee retention, improve recruitment and organizational attraction, and it is also organizational and environmentally sustainable. The importance of virtual work environments. The benefits are evident and the technology makes it possible. In order to reap the benefits, it is imperative that the virtual work environments, whether it be for an individual, a team, or an entire organization, be designed properly to ensure effectiveness. The effectiveness of the design and work is key to supporting company strategies and success.
In this next section, we'll discuss traditional organizational systems models and their context in a virtual environment. So in the virtual organization, face-to-face interaction is very limited and may not be prevalent at all. There's been such advancement in technology and in the acceptance of telework that remote workers really can perform their work almost from anywhere. They collaborate online to complete tasks, and they can be any place to do that. So our team will ask, are those traditional organizational systems models still relevant in this new virtual environment? And if so, how can they best be deployed in the context of virtual organizations and teams? We'll start off by looking at Barry Oshry's concepts from his book, Seeing Systems. So Oshry's models and research centers around relational systems and those how they interact within an organization. So the key aspect of Oshry's work is the dance of the blind reflex, or DBR. And there are many roles played in that dance. The oppressed tops, torn middles, oppressed bottoms, and individuals are moving from these roles throughout their experience in an organization. But the key point is that there are patterns to all of those organizational roles, as well as a customer or provider role. And when we fall into those habitual patterns, that's called the DBR, which is not good for the overall health of the system. So that's what OSHRI tells us. In a virtual context, how does that work when there are still those positions and roles that people play and behavior that will play out, and looking at this in the online collaboration setting, there's a real chance that DBR is going to happen much faster and maybe even an accelerated rate, because there isn't that body language. The tone is all going to be inferred from the electronic communication, which may not have the original message coming through all the way to the receiver. So there's also some evidence that people will behave differently online or maybe via email than they would face-to-face, because they have that facade of the online profile, so to speak. And along those lines, the stakes for providers and customers when it comes to online reviews and online behavior, they're much higher, because that instance that's recorded in a review or negative feedback is captured really frozen in time on the internet, and it's not easily erased, if ever. So the findings here are that OSHRI's concepts are very much prevalent in a virtual organization. They may be heightened, and it makes very much sense to be aware of OSHRI's recommendations even in a virtual team. Next, we'll look at the STAR model by Jay Galbraith. So the STAR model is actually quite simple, but makes a lot of sense when you look at the structure of the model. So what this tells us in the points of the model is that an organization is going to be operating in an interdependent way. So it isn't one facet like the structure that is going to be the hinge point for success necessarily. The basis of the STAR model, it all starts from the business strategy. However, the structure, people, processes, and rewards all interrelate and feed each other to aid the functioning of the organization. So looking at the STAR model in the virtual context, there's no change in terms of the fact that strategy is still fundamental. A virtual organization with no strategy is going to go nowhere. So that there is commonality there. When we start to look at some of the other aspects of the STAR model, however, in a virtual context, things start to look a little different. It becomes more challenging, because the typical rewards or people or processes that would take place where people are co-located together physically may not be as relevant when people are located virtually anywhere. So this is an opportunity for developing new and unique options under the STAR model, and those options are really maybe independent of where people are located in the geography. In terms of the organizational systems models, lastly, we will look at design thinking from Tim Brown. So Tim, the CEO of IDEO, has some innovative ways of viewing design, and some of the terminology he's coined in thinking about design are human-centered design, getting design out of the studio, thinking of design as solving big problems, not handheld devices that will end up in a landfill. And he's a real proponent of iterative design and making quick mock-ups and prototypes to aid that iterative process. So he wanted to get us thinking about design as it used to be in terms of inventing and solving large problems in logistics and transportation and building. So some of the projects that his firm has worked on include developing clean water for people that need it. So very worthwhile projects. So a lot of opportunity in the virtual context as well. In fact, there's a lot of good matches between Brown's concepts and operations in a virtual environment. They weren't, like the other models, not discussed so much in the virtual setting, but when we look at it, a virtual team right out of the gates is different than the traditional, physical office setting. So we may have people all over the globe, all over the country, in different areas that bring their diverse backgrounds and experiences to the problem solving and identifying problems that are relative to their local backgrounds. In Brown's book, Design Thinking, Change by Design, he did discuss virtual prototyping. So rather than actually making a physical model, there are ways to create experiences and virtual prototypes to replicate a customer experience through a system, for example. So there was mention of that. When we look at the organizational viewpoint, there are opportunities when we look at involving more team members, more people, members of the public in a design process. That's when things like open sourcing the process, crowdsourcing design functions may be worthwhile to look at. And all of the aspects of the virtual team really can become a competitive advantage, not just for a design process, but for a company as a whole.
Our team defined the issues that a virtual team or organization may encounter. They include information control flow, social relativity, managing conflicts, and creativity. In order to address information control flow, a company must have networks that telecommuters can access quickly and that these same networks are reliable with minimum downtime. Secure networks are essential as confidential and proprietary information will be accessed by the telecommuter. Written policies and procedures must be followed by in-house employees as well as telecommuters. Marie G. McIntyre on her website, Your Office Coach, offers the following advice for staying connected. Clarify management expectations. Invest time in getting to know you. Recognize when you need to talk. Learn to use the tools. Stay on your boss's radar. Always be reliable and dependable. Use social media to build relationships. Understand cultural differences. It is important to set boundaries around one's work, office time, and family. When the office is in your home, you are always available unless boundaries are set and kept. True family time may never be achieved, undermining one of the possible reasons for telecommuting. Overcoming the perceptions of associates not working in a virtual environment is critical. Since the telecommuter is not in the office, those in the office may view the telecommuter as barely working or perhaps doing other things while they, the in-house associate, sits at their desk and works. Management should let all associates know that the expectations of work produced is the same whether in the office or telecommuting. Managers must make sure that the distribution of work is fair and that they, the managers, do not develop an out of sight, out of mind attitudes towards the telecommuter. There must be a platform that can be used in order to have telecommuters be able to interact with others in real time. The use of tools such as Skype can let the telecommuter interact in a face-to-face manner that helps to build relationships and keeps the telecommuter front and center when proposing ideas. When possible, in-person meetings should be held.
This is Travis Clark, and I will be discussing countermeasures for virtual team and organizational effectiveness. While there are barriers that may exist in virtual teams and organizational effectiveness, there have been found ways in which such barriers may be overcome. Terrence Brake, 2016, has noted that these barriers can be simplified into 3 categories: isolation, fragmentation, and confusion. Feng Jifeng, 2009, finds that the best way to counter these barriers is to first identify high-quality leadership. By identifying and placing a high-quality person in the leadership role, the goal is that the leader will clearly identify the mission goal, provide consistent feedback, encourage development, and trust within the group. These items are crucial to the success of the virtual team. While leadership is a cornerstone to virtual team success, further insight to barrier breakdowns is offered in the article Getting Virtual Teams Right. According to Keith Ferranzi, 2014, such countermeasures include people, placing the right people, sharing the right qualities, communication skills, emotional intelligence, ability to work independently, and resiliency. Multiple studies on rising and up-and-coming and small businesses utilizing virtual teams has found that the fewer members on the team, the greater the chance of success. While in contrast, the opposite appears to be true. The more personnel there are on a virtual team, the greater the likelihood of confusion developing. What the article suggests is a size no greater than 10 people for a virtual team. Granted, oftentimes this is not a viable solution to whatever problem the virtual team is attempting to address. But for those times when more personnel are needed, they're placed on the roster on a short-term basis, and they can assist the team in whatever the project is, but they're not counted as the sole members. The sole members, however, should consist of no greater than 10 personnel. As previously discussed, the sole members in a virtual team should consist of no more than 10 personnel. The rationale behind this is the roles given to each category. The core, which are the strategy makers, the operational, which are your day-to-day decision carry-out personnel performing daily tasks, and your outer, specialized purpose. These members are the ones that I was referring to earlier, those that can be brought in on a short-term basis to assist the core team and the operational team. All other aspects of the outer category are simply on an as-needed basis. A virtual team is by definition geographically separated, existing only in a virtual environment, whether it be online through a SharePoint drive or through online communications or a multi social network of sorts in a virtual realm. What is recognized is that there's hardly ever any face-to-face meetings or agendas. You may have your virtual video conferences or things of that nature. But what this article suggests is that there be a face-to-face meeting, if feasible. And it recognizes that there should be these in three time frames of a virtual project. The first is the kickoff. Everyone gets together, there's an orientation of such where everyone just needs to meet and greet, get to know the other person, get the feel of their behavior patterns, get the feel of their body language, things of that nature. The second one is during the onboarding. And this process pretty much mirrors the kickoff point where, okay, we are going to sit down, we are going to do project XYZ, here's the thoughts, what are your thoughts, things of that nature. So it's just a flow of ideas. And finally, milestones. So when milestones are reached, the article suggests that the virtual team be brought together once more to celebrate this milestone, whether it's we're halfway done with this project or completion of this project, or hey, we all got kudos from the parent organization for our efforts in this project, whatever the case may be. But there does seem to suggest that instead of an exclusive nature for a virtual team, that the team be actually brought together in physical form to meet and greet and share overall just humanization of each team member. Technology is often the downfall of any person out there. We've all had their moments where it seems like technology has been placed to make our lives easier, and yet for some reason, we cannot figure out how to overcome certain issues that arise with technology, much is the case with the virtual team. Different technologies exist to create an environment that allows user-friendly availability for the virtual teams. These items could be SharePoint drives, they could be teleconferencing, they could be even such items as when you're doing face-to-face meetings via a video meeting or video conference. All of these are placed to allow ease for the worker. The issue becomes when we make technology or systems more complicated than they need to be. So in the case of teleconferencing, some products put in a user code or do different things to gain access. The article suggests removing this barrier. Find a product that does not require an access code. By removing that barrier, you're increasing productivity in the form of if someone forgets that access code and can't be brought on to that teleconference, then an issue and a barrier to productivity ensues. So once again, the article suggests ease of use in all technologies, whether it's a SharePoint, whether it's a video conference, a teleconference, no matter what the application is, the goal is ease. Simple click and drags, simple straightforward calling. No matter what it is, you want this to be as easy as possible for the user. When reviewing the items addressed above in the previous slides, it becomes clear that such countermeasures are viable. The key to implementation of the countermeasures is purposeful implementation. Each countermeasure has its place in addressing the underlying barrier provided via Break 2016, which consisted of isolation, fragmentation, and confusion. All of the countermeasures given have found a way to avoid isolation feeling. The issue with the fragmented or geographically separated nature of virtual environments, and also the confusion that may ensue, whether it be through technology or lack of guidance.